Right. We are good on YouTube. Let's get good over here. Oh boy, and the dog's gonna get nuts. I swear. These animals know that they're on camera and they are deciding to act out because of it. Everybody to love some puppies. Okay, all right. I'm gonna get them in and I'll be right back. All right, come on, come on. Karma, come on. In. It's too rowdy. Karma. Hey, listen to me. Oh my God, yeah, see? Chaos. All right. Get that in the butt. So we still got another minute or so. What's going on? Anybody? All right, YouTube's going on. Anybody on Facebook yet? But I'm normally late, so this is not troublesome at all. So it is right about time. I'm going to go ahead and get chatting at least a little bit. So I don't know. I just feel like I don't know about you guys. I need everything. I need everything right now. So we're going to do a few different things than we maybe normally do. We're going to twist like crazy and maybe get some of the gunk unstuck with those twists. So it's going to be a busy weekend and maybe a little motivation here. So hopefully that will help you as well. Remember that I may have a focus, I may have a topic, I may have a direction that I'm going with the class. But if you need a little something else over on the side kind of thing, then take that little detour. If we're going to do some arm balances here, and if that's absolutely just not a thing, not going to happen, then try something else. Maybe take a child's pose or take a shavasana for a second, right? Whatever it is you need, or try some other twists or something. So that you're getting exactly what you need. I was chatting with a student friend of mine who apparently I was very profound at some point, very early on in her coming to my classes. And I said, you really, once you understand yoga and you know what your body needs, you can't have a bad yoga class, right? There are less than amazing teachers. There are less than amazing classes, right? With that the teacher offers that might just not be your cup of tea. But once you understand it, once you get what yoga is and you understand how your body responds to it, it's on you if you have a bad yoga class, Don't let your brain go there. And that's mostly what it is. It's mostly maybe that your brain says, oh, I can do this, knowing full well you can't. Right? And giving something a try is different, right? But remember, it is your responsibility to do the right thing for you. And you might not mesh with the teacher so great, right? But that doesn't make the yoga class bad. So listen to what your body needs every day. Whatever that might end up looking like. Sometimes that's just making it to the mat and sitting there for a minute. I've had those days. So let's go ahead and get started. Like I said, we're going to do some different things. Just go with it. Give it a go. If it isn't for you, sit it out. Find something else. Child's poses is always available, right? So let's align the heels to the groin here. Go ahead and take inner thigh rotation so that you feel upright on your pelvis. We aren't going to be here long, but we always want to set the foundation properly so that the rest of the pose can do what it's supposed to do. So engaging the lower belly, pelvic floor up, lower belly in and up, tall through the sides, relaxed through the hips and shoulders, extending out the crown of the head. Go ahead and close your eyes and just be here. Being fully present in your body. Attentive to the breath. Gradually allowing your breath to expand. Finding that just beyond comfortable place for your breath. And then staying connected to that, whatever it might look like, it's yours. So I might be cueing to inhale, but if you're not inhaling yet, finish what you're doing. Let's go ahead and extend the arms out to the sides then, and with the next inhale, stretch them up to the ceiling. Exhaling, bring them back down. We'll do that again. One more time like that. Coming back to the top. And then exhaling just the right hand back to the mat, giving yourself a little tip to that side. Taking a nice big breath here, opening up the left side. With the inhale, coming back up to the center. And we'll switch, exhaling over to the left. Big full breath. Come on, back up to the top. And we'll do that once more on each side. So take it right. Moving in a little deeper, adjusting as you need. And then back up to the center. Taking it to the left. Inhaling back to the middle. Exhaling and releasing. So we are going to be pretty heavy on our twists today. So let's start off nice and gentle. Bring the left hand to the right knee, right hand behind the back, and just allow yourself as if someone had called your name behind you. How do you turn? How do you rotate around? Notice if the pelvis is still upright, if one side got a little squished or the other, right? One area of your spine, maybe you rotate more there than you do in another. We're going to release that, coming back through the middle. Take your second side, same idea, as if someone had just called you and you turned. And the same idea here, noticing where that happens. Lower back, shoulders, head. We're going to release that, coming back to the middle. And then picture your spine. And in your head, it's probably easier to stack it, right? So the natural curves, don't think about that too much. I mean, obviously we want them, right? But imagine it stacking really, really tall. And then just rotating around, right? All the way up and down the spine, same kind of rotation. So picture that in your head and see what we can do with that. So the left hand back to the right knee. Started probably in your upper back-ish, right? Maybe the right hand behind the back. Where do you feel that? Maybe a little higher, a little lower. So here, Work to rotate your belly button. So that lower back-ish. And then imagine turning your side ribs toward the back. So your middle back is rotating around. Now your upper back may be able to free up a little bit more. And if turning your head isn't uncomfortable, go ahead and turn your head. But feeling it more even through the spine. Staying really tall. Unwind that, come on back to center. And then as you move, the same idea on this side, kind of noticing just when you place your hands, where does that start? And then intentionally working from the bottom, through the middle, maybe freeze up the top a little bit more, turning your head or not. But the spine is still really tall and kind of stacked. Okay? Not leaning one side. We're going to release that, coming back to the middle. And just keeping that same idea in mind as we move through other twists. So let's come around onto hands and knees from here. Wrists under shoulders, knees under hips, belly still engaged. We're going to inhale, take the belly toward the floor. Exhaling, rounding your spine toward the ceiling. So with the breath in and out like that, moving up and down the spine. Let's take one more flow like that. And then find a center. So keeping four corners of the hands on the floor, shoulders neutral on the back, go ahead and take your hands forward maybe, or your knees back, coming into a kneeling plank. So again here, making sure the belly stays engaged. The head is in line with the spine, so you're looking forward a little bit. Try not to let your head droop. You can hold on the knees if that's for you. Otherwise, lift the knees away from the floor. We're simply holding plank. Pressing through the heels so that the legs get involved. Okay. You can make this all about your arms, but why would you? There's lots of muscles going on. From your plank here, let's go ahead and lift, coming toward down dog. And then just wiggle and stretch in your down dog. Bringing yourself to settle in. We want to press the chest back, press the heels toward the floor. They don't have to touch, don't worry about that. And then keeping everything else as we have it, instead of sinking through the heels, go ahead and come up on the toes. Keep the chest pressing back so the hips stay high here. And we're going to drop the heels over to the left. Keep the right hand on the floor, nice and firm. And then come on back to the middle and switch, taking the heels over to the right. So the hips stay nice and high, that left hand stays planted. You want to feel a great big stretch up the left side. Come on back to the middle. Let's go ahead and drop on down to the knees and take a child's pose. So we're also going to be on our hands a lot today. So remember the four corners of your hands. If your hands do start to feel a little tired in between, You can spread your fingers and make really tight fists, and then spread your fingers and make tight fists. And sometimes that'll kind of let it loosen up a little bit if you are feeling that distress there. So we're going to add on to that, coming back up into down dog. Go ahead and come up on the toes, drop the heels over to the left. This time, we're going to let the hips come down and bring the right hand to the hip. So, of course, if you need that left knee on the floor, take it to the floor, right? You can have your legs or your feet one in front of the other. You can have them stacked. You can lift the right arm. You can do all kinds of fancy stuff. We're going to release that back to down dog. And then work the second side, same idea. So up on the toes, heels right, and then you let the hips come down, the left hand comes to the hip. Adjust the right knee to the floor if you need it. Adjust your feet. Make the body strong as if you were standing up. All of the muscles engaged helps this poor little right arm. And then let's release that back to down dog again. You can drop back down to child's pose, take a little break there for a moment. So back to down dog. This time here, we're going to step the right foot forward, come to a lunge. Go ahead and drop on down to the back knee. And then adjusting the toes so that the knee and ankle are stacked. When you're ready for it, go ahead and take the right leg straight. And if it doesn't go straight right away, don't panic. You can prop up on blocks. You can prop up on the shin or your thigh here. We want to keep the spine nice and long. Shoulders down and back. Let's go ahead and bend back into the knee and let the hips sink forward. So lifting the chest gives you a little extra here. We want to imagine keeping the legs pulling toward each other so the pelvis stays in that neutral position. Bring the right hand to the hip, rotating the belly button, the side ribs, shoulder maybe looking up. So again, kind of rotating around on the spine as evenly as you can. We're going to release the twist here and take the leg straight again. So maybe you can move a little bit deeper with this one. Looking for sensation. Let's go ahead and bend back into the knee again. Same idea, sinking down through the pelvis, keeping the pelvis square so the legs are pulling toward each other, right? Bring your right hand to the hip. No, your right hand to the inside of the right foot. And then glue your arm and leg together, kind of pushing in toward each other. Left hand's going to come to the hip. We're going to rotate away from the thigh. Belly button, side rib, shoulder. And then let's go ahead and release that twist. And we'll step back to down dog. All right, so same idea on the second side here. Let's go ahead and bring the left foot forward. Go ahead and drop the right knee to the floor, adjusting the toes if they didn't land where you wanted them to. Legs pull toward each other underneath the body as we take the left leg straight. Straight-ish. And then bending into the knee again. Descending into the hips, lengthening through your spine, especially when you're twisting. You keep the spine nice and long here. Left hand to the hip, we're rotating toward the thigh first. And then we'll release the twist, taking the leg straight again, finding a little bit deeper stretch, maybe. And then bending in again. Setting your pelvis, lengthening the spine, bring the left hand to the inside of the foot, and then the right hand to the hip as we rotate away. Let's release the twist and step ourselves back to down dog again. So go ahead and take a quick break in child's pose. And then let's lift back up into down dog. Here in our down dog, we're going to keep everything else exactly as we have it and simply bend your right knee. The toes stay on the floor, but the right knee is come a little closer to your chest, right? From there, take your left hand and reach for the outside of your right leg, wherever you find that leg. Okay? If you can grab the ankle, grab the ankle. See about taking your leg straighter. And imagine this left shoulder kind of being pulled up and under. You can look up and under your right arm, pressing through the right heel. And then release it. Same idea on the second side. So if you're a little bit sweaty, make sure your left hand is dry and planted. Bend the left knee. Take the right hand to the outside of the leg. Again, wherever you can grab works. Taking the leg straighter pulls us up and under a bit. And then we'll release that side. Walk the feet forward, come to standing fold. Placing the feet up underneath the hip bones, checking in that the toes point forward. Press down into the four corners of the feet here. Make sure the belly's in, take the shoulders back. We're gonna bring the hands to the thighs and then press up halfway-ish, coming roughly parallel to the floor. Making sure the belly's working, leaning on the legs if you need to. But try not to sink your hips back. Try and keep them right over the ankles. We're going to bend into the knees from here and sit into a chair. So take a second and make sure your feet feel even and your belly's in, and lean on the legs if you feel like you need to lean. Lifting the chest, the hands can come center or extend. Let's take one more breath here. With the inhale, stretch to the ceiling. And then release the arms. So, for this first little back bend, we're going to support. Hands on either side of the lower back. If you find you don't need that and you want to make adjustments as we go, feel free to change where your hands are. But this is just where we're going to start. So pressing down into the four corners of the feet. Little tuck of the tailbone. Try not to shove your pelvis forward. Just a little tuck. Hug the elbows. Hug the shoulder blades. And then lift the chest up toward the ceiling, opening up into this little baby back bend. We want to keep the chin tucked in so the back of the neck stays nice and long. You may or may not be looking toward the ceiling. Finding length in your spine. And again, if you wanted to play here, you could change where your arms are, maybe interlacing the fingers behind your lower back and instead taking the arms out to the sides or alongside the ears. It's just early, so do what you need to do for yourself. We're going to take one more breath here. On an inhale, make your way back up to a neutral place. And then release the arms. All right. So go ahead and bring your hands back to your thighs and come gently over into a half fold again. That middle place. Leaning if you feel like you need to be leaning. Go ahead and allow yourself to slowly drop into your full fold. And here we're going to bring our feet together. Some of you guys probably know where we're going. We want to hug the legs together like crazy. It's a little bit like dragging the legs together in that lunge, that stability of hugging into the middle here. We're going to go ahead and bring the hands to the thighs, bend into the knees, come into this variation chair, and then you can keep it rather simple. Make sure your belly is working. Bringing the left hand to the right knee, right hand to the hip, and you've got a little twist. You can kind of pull against the knee a little bit and rotate around, right? Nice and even up the spine. But maybe the left elbow comes to the outside of the knee, and then the palms can come together. But the same idea, you press the arm into the knee back into the arm. Hug those legs together, otherwise they're going to go all wonky and sideways on you. Rotating through the spine. We're going to take one more breath here. Go ahead and release your twist. Come back to a standing fold. And we'll take the second side. So let's bend into the knees, set up into that chair. Get that idea of squeezing together going on. And then you decide whether it's just your right hand to the outside of the knee or whether you want your elbow to the outside of the knee. Check them out. Hug them in, staying nice and even through the lower body and rotating around through the spine. Releasing the twist, back into the fold. Let's open the feet. This time here, go ahead and bend into your knees. With an inhale, roll up through your spine. And then taking a nice big step back with the right foot. We're going to come to a straddle. So as wide as you need them to be, of course, right? Toes are pointing forward. You want to feel even on the four corners of your feet. It's really tempting to sort of let the ankles roll out or pull in to really stay rooted. Belly's working. Go ahead and bring the hands to the hips, shoulders back, and we're going to come forward into that half fold again. Hold here. Support if you needed to support. Really important to keep the shoulders back and the spine long. Leave the hands on the hips. If you have a deeper fold, go ahead and move there. Let gravity act on your spine. And then keep the shoulders back as the hands reach toward the floor. You may not touch the floor. You can always lean on your shins if that's preferable. And then taking the hands flat to the floor. So again here, if you needed to bend your knees to get there, bend your knees. Hands are shoulder width apart like they are, say, in all fours or down dog. And we want the palms to the floor. Keeping that idea, slide your palms or your hands back, really, so that the tips of your fingers line up with the tips of your toes. They're still shoulder width apart.
Press down into your arms, and you can have your elbows bent or straight. That's just whatever feels normal or natural for you. Pressing down into the hands. Pressing down so much that you almost feel as if the weight transfers from your feet to your hands. And maybe a little bit will. Keep that idea, pull your belly toward your spine and see what happens. Your feet get lighter. So release that. Bending the knees, of course, again here if you need to. Index and middle fingers are going to wrap around the big toes. Elbows out to the sides. We're going to pull on the toes a little bit. Drawing a little bit deeper into the stretch. Release your toes and take those fingers to interlace behind the lower back. Shoulders pull toward each other. Knuckles stretch away. Maybe they lift up off of your lower back. Maybe they don't very much. But keep those shoulders pulling toward each other. Shoulders away from the ears. So the hands kind of just wind up wherever they wind up. If you're a hyperextender, you want to watch your knees and elbows here. Tiny bend in the elbows. Let's release the arms. Take them back to the floor. Here, ideally, the legs are straight and the hands are on the floor right up underneath the shoulders. Right? If you need knees bent or you want blocks, feel free. Okay. So here we're going to bring the right hand underneath the face. And you can be flat on your palm or up on your fingers. Sometimes I like to be up. It just, I don't know, it seems to make a difference for me. Bring the left hand to the hip. And we're going to start to rotate around. So think belly button, side rib, shoulder. Turning and looking toward the ceiling, unless, again, that's bothersome for you. Trying to keep the lower body stable so it's just rotating around through the spine. And then we'll release that side and switch. So the left hand in the middle and the right hand to the hip, rotating around. Releasing the twist. Bringing the hands back up to the hips. Coming halfway up. Feel those hamstrings squeeze. And then all the way up. Releasing the arms. We're just going to change our feet up a little bit here. So turn your right toes in a little bit and then the left foot toward the top of the mat. We're going to move into a warrior two. So bending into the left knee, peek for your big toe, stacking the knee and ankle here, and extending the arms. So nice and even in the four corners of your right foot, both feet really. Sometimes that back foot kind of gets rolled off of the outside edge there. And then from our warrior two, taking the left leg straight, let's reach forward and hinge into triangle. So lean on the leg if you feel like you need to be leaning, but only if you have to. Belly's in, shoulders are back. We're going to release that and come over into a lunge. So up on the back toes, you've got some options here with that back leg. We want to make sure we're stable. So you can stay in this wide stance. You can maybe drop down to the knee. Or if it makes more sense for you, hop the right toes in a little bit, or even as much so that foot is flat to the floor. You decide, right? The idea is to be stable, so that's the important thing. We're going to take the left leg straight. And if you do need to prop up, right, and if you're feeling stable enough, lovely. Otherwise, blocks or the knee on the floor is the way to go here. So from there, Let's take the left hand to the hip. Sweep the legs toward each other underneath the body to keep the stability in the pelvis and begin to rotate around. And if you wanted to get really fancy with it, this right hand can move to the outside of the left foot. Maybe. Again, stability is the key factor. We want to twist whatever that ends up looking like. Right? Let's release that. Bend back into the knee. And we're going to walk the hands around into a straddle. Moving to our second side here, let's set our feet up, pulling the left foot in just a little bit, left toes in. Rotate the right toes toward the back of the mat, lifting the upper body. Right knee is bent here. Knee and ankle stacked. Hips are level, and we stretch the arms out. So feel free to adjust. It's not always the same from one side to the other. Let's take the right leg straight. Reaching forward of the toes, hinge over. Lean if you need to lean. And then let's release it, coming into our lunge. So again here, you decide where the left foot is, whether the knee needs to be down, any adjustments you need. When you're ready for it, take the right leg straight. Square up your hips. Find the foundation of your legs. Extend long through the crown of your head. And then add your twist in here, bringing the right hand to the hip and rotating around. You want to get fancy with your left hand, give that a go. We're going to release the twist and walk the hands back around into the straddle. So here, let's walk the feet in, just wider than the shoulders. And then bending the knees as much or as little as you feel like makes sense for you. Let's take the hands between the feet. Maybe behind the heels. Maybe up and over the tops of the feet. And then from there, you can drop into the hips a bit. Let's release all that. I'm going to come around, rotate to the top of the mat here, coming down to the knees. Go ahead and give yourself a child's pose. So we're going to play with crow here. And then we're going to see if we can twist it up. Can't anything ever be easier, right? So remember, you work to where you're challenged and don't worry about what gets added or not added, right? So let's take the hands to the floor. Spread your fingers really wide. Take as much space as you can to absorb the weight of your body, okay? Nice and even into the four corners of the hands. And then from there, step your feet just behind your hands or so. And again, you can adjust this so that it fits your body. Okay? We're all shaped a little bit different. Sometimes our legs are longer, or arms are longer, whatever makes sense for you. So from here, bending the knees or bending your elbows, whatever it takes, see if you can wiggle your knee in toward the armpit-ish, right? I have to come up on my toes. I don't know why. Maybe I'm not the only one. I'm not sure. Anyway, when you have your knees toward your armpits, if you bend your elbows, your triceps are kind of or touching, in contact with, that's the word I wanted, your shins, right? So keep that idea, lean forward. So you're really leaning the body weight on the triceps there. This might be plenty. If you pull your belly button in, can you wiggle your toes a little closer together so that maybe you can lift them up off the floor? See, and of course you're going to wiggle and wobble and everything. If you fall over, hopefully you don't fall directly on your face. Sometimes it happens, but you know, the brain is pretty protective of your face, so that doesn't happen too terribly often. So let's release all that. We're going to come back down. Go ahead and give yourself a child's pose. If that little trick of making wide fists, wide fingers, tight fists makes sense to you, and you need that, use it for sure. So that's kind of the idea, right? And you can definitely stay in straight on plain old crow, right, to practice with that. But the idea is to get the leverage, right? There's nothing super fancy about it, right? You don't have to be, it helps, of course, right, if you're really strong, but it's about leverage. So as long as you have that leverage, you don't have to be muscle man, right? Sometimes that actually gets in your way. So let's, I'm going to turn sideways on the mat. You can or not. We're going to be sort of moving to the sides, of course, since we're in twists. So come up into a squat. Up on your toes. And then just like we did with our chair, when we twisted chair, how we hugged into the middle, right? That's really, really key here. Pulling the belly button in toward the spine. So hugging into the center. We're going to take the hands. See if you can wiggle that right elbow to the outside of the knee first. And then see about taking your hands to the floor. So already you're starting to lean, right? You want to get the palms flat to the floor. Hug your legs together like crazy. Hug your belly button in. Start to lean a little more. And you lean a little more. And a little more. Until one foot comes up off the floor. Or you have really slippery hands and that just doesn't work. So hug in like crazy. You lean, 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 lean. Maybe 1 foot, maybe 2 feet, maybe no feet. Maybe you're in straight old, plain old crow pose. Take one more breath with whatever you're playing with. And then release that. Coming back to your center. You can just kind of sit and maybe work your hands a little bit, roll your shoulders, wiggle. Okay. Sometimes it's more of a mental reset once you get back to that center. So let's try it on the other side. That's the fun thing about twist. You have to do. So coming up into that squat. Squeeze your legs together like mad. And then even here, if you wanted to stay up, you can do the hands on the outside of the knee and the hip idea, right? Same thing. You're just not getting the arm balance. Otherwise, the elbow, palms to the ground, hug to the middle, squeeze, 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 and start to lean. Your hands don't cooperate. So play with where you are, give it a go, take just a couple more breaths, working with whatever you're working. And then come on back down to your middle. Roll your wrists, hands. We're going to give them an official stretch here. So coming into an all fours position, hands on the floor, but instead of your fingers pointing forward, rotate your thumb out so that the fingers point toward your knees. Both hands. Palms flat to the floor, shoulder width apart, If you're extra bendy, your elbows will poke out, right? And this really doesn't feel like anything. But if you bend those elbows a little bit, you'll start to get that sensation. So knees closer to the fingers is a little bit less intense than knees further away. You can keep your hips over your knees, or you can start to lean back a little bit. So find the amount of stretch that is enough. Let's gently release the pressure there, walking the knees in. Gently pick your hands up. The back of the hand flat on the floor, all the way to the wrist. Fingers point toward each other here. And then you can put a little bit of body weight in the hand if that feels all right. Taking the arms straighter adds intensity. And then keeping the back of the hand flat on the floor, see about curling your fingers in and making a really good fist. Squeeze those fingers in as tight as you can. And then take them out and spread the fingers. Quickly then, squeeze the fingers in. Fists, wide hands. Fists, wide hands. Just a bunch of times. Ending with the hands wide. And then go ahead and sit back on your heels here. So this is a little bit complicated. I hope you can see this all right, or if you know what I'm doing already, don't worry about it. But the fingers, we're gonna make sure every little knuckle is bent. So we wanna pull the top joint here back a bit, and then bend the next one forward a bit, right? So all three joints are bent, right? You're gonna do that with all 10 fingers on the floor here, so that the heel of the hand is not on the mat, and every joint is bent. I think it looks like little spiders. Whatever. You can make up whatever makes sense for you in your head. And sometimes your fingers do not want to bend that way. Work until they can. Pressing down into the pad of the finger. Imagine pulling your mat, like you could squeeze it up underneath your hand. And if you wanted to get fancy with it, you can lean some body weight in it. You can do push-ups. You can do all kinds of silly stuff. But the idea is to start to strengthen the hand so that they don't get so tired. So we're going to release that. Gently roll around into the wrists. Flop them back and forth a little bit. And then we'll take the legs around front. So stretching your legs out nice and long, making sure you feel upward on your pelvis. Keeping the spine tall, let's reach up. And we're going to fold forward. Take a couple more nice big breaths. With an inhale, hinging back up again. Release the arms. From here, let's step the right foot to the outside of the left leg. So if that is not happening, the foot can be on the inside. There's no magic about being on the outside, right? We want the pelvis to be upright, setting our foundation. We want the spine to be tall. That's the only things that matter. Where the legs go or how deep the twist is, we'll see. Right? So the left leg may need to stay straight. You may be able to bend and bring the heel in front of the right sit bone. So you don't want to sit on the foot because then the pelvis isn't level. Right? Sitting nice and tall here. Wrap the left arm around the right leg. and take the right arm, that is, behind your back and rotate around here. So pelvis is upright, spine is tall. You can pull against the leg a little bit. You can press into the right hand and kind of pull with that arm as well. Maybe the elbow to the outside of the knee, actually more the top of the knee really here. And you're gonna push against it just like we did before. So adding all those pieces together to go wherever this goes. Take one more big breath. We'll release it back to center, unhooking the legs. And then switching sides. So taking the left foot maybe to the inside. And then of course the leg can't bend and all of that, but if that's where the pelvis is upright and the spine is tall, that's where it is. Or the outside, or the right knee bends. And each side's a little different. So take your time and just kind of set up and is my pelvis upright? Is my spine tall? Okay, check in. Wrapping the arm, supporting with the left arm back here, pulling, pressing into the mat. Drawing the elbow to the outside of the knee if that's you. And then gently releasing what you got. Unhook your legs. And maybe bounce them around a little bit. Let's take the feet flat to the floor. Go ahead and hang on to your hamstrings and roll on down to your back. Bringing the knees in and allowing yourself to rock. So we're going to take one last twist. And this one is always your option, like any little variations, anything you want to add or not add. And today the only direction I'll give you is to, instead of working, because we've been working in all of these twists, instead of working in it, let go in it and see where gravity will take you. So the arms open into a T and you do what you want to do with the legs falling over to the right to begin. And again, any little variations. You want your legs straight or crossed or closer to your chest or not. But then when you kind of get there, see if you can sink into it. Use gravity as the work. Take just a couple more breaths on this side. And then we're going to make our way back up to the middle. Readjust, of course, if you need to readjust. And then the same variations over to the second side. The spine as symmetrical as we can. And then when you get there, just relax. couple more breaths on this side. And then making your way back up to the middle. Drawing the knees back into the chest if they're not already. I'm just letting yourself rock a bit. Let's squeeze the knees in tight to the chest. Pull the forehead toward the knees. And then release it out into a full body stretch. Fingertips to toes. And release it. Bringing the arms back down by the sides of the body. Make yourself comfortable here. So if you need to prop up in one place or another, the spine doesn't quite feel aligned. Making any adjustments that you need. And then being still. No more wheeling. Allowing the weight of the body to sink into the mat. Bring the awareness back solely to the breath. And here, without controlling, just observing. Keeping the mind present. Quiet. And relaxed. Slowly draw in a deep cleansing breath, and then let that all go. You start in small movements to the body first. Gradually wiggle and stretch. When you're ready, taking your feet to the floor, and gently making your way up to seated. Sitting well, and bringing the palms to touch. Bowing to the light within. Namaste. Happy Saturday, you guys. Happy yoga. I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you gave something different a go, at least. And, you know, I was just going to say, if you fall on your face, it's all good, but hopefully you didn't fall on your face. Hopefully nothing was too scary or too intense. So thanks again, you guys. I am going to start another 5-day, 15-minute yoga challenge. Not this coming Monday, but the following one. So for 5 days in a row, take 15 minutes out of your day and get a little yoga in. I released the class first thing in the morning, so I get up every morning a little bit early so I can get my yoga in. That's what works for me. If in the afternoon or middle of the day or right before bed works for you, right? It's available too. So if you're interested in that, if you want to, see if you can meet the challenge, certainly let me know. I've got it on Facebook, and I'll also send out emails. So let me know if you're not already on my email list. Certainly give me a holler, and I'll add you to it. All right, you guys. Thank you. We'll see you next week. Have a great weekend. Bye. Thanks, Cheryl.